Coming straight out of Ecamm. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. It's a jam with the Ecamm fam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam.
Hold it, stop the music.
Ladies and gentlemen.
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 Can I please have your attention?
Now showtime. Are you ready? Are you ready for start time?
Let's find out. Ready, let's go.
Okay, so speak now.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I think we have audio now. So there we go. Let's go ahead and redo it all over again.
Yep, now
Welcome,
it's working. I hear it.
everybody, to another edition of the Friday Live Demo. This is a show where we actually go through the paces of Ecamm and show you how to utilize this program, and also what you can do or can't do with it, so to speak, give you a demonstration of what the possibilities of this amazing program are. And this week, I'm being joined by none other than Paul Duncan, Mr. Moderator, who's the moderator for this and many YouTube channels. And what I had asked was, how are you doing, Paul?
Good. Except for my network. So as I mentioned earlier, which nobody heard,
Mm-hmm.
if I disappear or something like that, my internet went out this morning and I'm on a jury-rig backup thing. So we'll see how it goes.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was soliloquying about, which was that, yeah, in case anything were to happen, apparently the networking issues in California are not too good today, but we will march on and we will do our best, because we always say live happens, right? This is a demonstration of how to utilize this program week in and week out, but it also shows you how things can pop up on a live stream, and your best case scenario is to actually know the program so that you can mitigate whatever problem could arise at any situation at any time. But like I was saying,
Yep.
right now you look great. So it looks like the trip mode that we activated to kind of hone in on your networking signal is doing good. So we're just going to continue to march on. We were looking for a particular or specific topic for today's live stream, but it looks like everything is kind of everywhere, and most of the problems that people have been experiencing has to do with Sonoma itself and the update to the program on the Mac side. So for anyone that is dealing with a little bit of issues, work with us, because it's not completely on the Ecamm side, and it's actually not on the Ecamm side. Everything's working great, but we also feel your pain, and we're also doing everything in our power to mitigate that. And to mention that, our support team is working around the clock for a lot of people that are using the programs, but also just recognize that it is the holiday season on top of their, standard time of like responding. It could take a little bit longer because there's less time for everyone to do everything this month. And there's a lot more people online because of the extra time off work and other different things.
And the issues with Sonoma, it's like I've been using Sonoma. I have not had any Ecamm type problems, so not everybody is having it. It's kind of like it's independent on the person, how you're using, what programs you're running, all that stuff that can be influencing because a lot of times add in programs, other programs that you have that you're using can be impacted because of a Sonoma update. They don't get updated, and it's an application that you use with your live streaming or something like that, and that's causing the problems. So, uh, Ecamm and Sonoma, for the most part, are working basically okay. It's just other stuff that can come into play with that can be causing havoc.
Well, in my experience, like I'm fortunate enough to have multiple computers using the Ecamm software. And what I do personally is, because of it, I update one computer, which is the least important one, ahead of time. So believe it or not, right now, my main Apple Studio, I'm still on the older software, which I forgot the name of it. I'm about to do the about information here, which I am still on. What's it
Monterey
called? Ventura.
or
See,
Ventura,
I even forgot the
okay, so
name, so I'm still on Ventura, and I haven't updated to the new Sonoma just to kind of avoid a little bit of those situations. But that's personally me, because I also do a lot of remote production. So because of this aspect, I'm always trying to keep, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so to speak, right? And I'm also have the ability to mess around with the new features that are updated on my other machines, so just in case anything were to happen, I have that like testing zone, so to speak, to do things ahead of time. But is there anything that you want to address in particular when it comes to using this amazing program? Or actually, for everyone watching and listening, that if you have any questions, this is a perfect time to drop them into the chat, because pretty much anything's on the docket. And if you're going to do so, please be sure to put a Q colon in front of it so that we can see it within, the application here and find your question easier.
yeah, the only thing we won't be talking about today is anything related to the Ecamm beta or stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
anything else is free ground to talk about. Um,
Yes.
One thing that I've seen come up quite a bit is people having issues with cam links, and I have known some people that have had cam links that they've needed to reach out to Elgato support and talk to them about and have gotten them replaced. But the other thing is when you read the instructions for a cam link, it says to plug it directly into your computer. And the reason they say that is because they want to cut down on their support calls. You can plug it into a hub or a dock. The main thing with that is you can't plug 27 cam links into one dock. And you need to make sure that dock is powered. And when we talk about a powered hub or a powered dock, it has basically a power brick. It's not some little, 110 little plug-in volt thing. It has a large power brick associated with it, like the old laptops used to have, things like that. So you need to make sure if you're gonna not plug it into your Mac, you need to make sure that you're plugging it into a, quote, "powered hub," something like, the, OBC I think the Element or the Thunderbolt 3. OBC and, why am I
OWC, right?
oh, thank you, OWC, and the other one
They get
that
so
makes
confusing.
the the Thunderbolt. I can't think of the name of the company.
And I can't either because I don't own those
CalDigit,
docks.
CalDigit.
The
Yeah,
CalDigit,
CalDigit.
yes. But there's
Yeah,
like three of
something
them.
of
That's
that
the other
nature.
thing because I
Yeah.
believe Anchor also makes one as
Yep,
well.
Anchor,
But
and there's
the
another one
key
out there
thing
too,
is
but
the powered.
yeah. The power block should be like a large, brick,
It should look
kind
something
of.
like your old like laptop power brick, so to speak. It's
Yep,
gonna have enough juice. And the reason why this is important is that when you connect something via USB, not only are you just connecting the data, but the computer or the thing that your device that you're connecting is transferring electricity as that communication, and it's doing a power delivery service on it as well. So the thing
right.
is that when you have a USB connection, it's usually mitigated to around 5 volts. And those 5 volts are then going to be spread across as many devices as you're connecting to that lane. So the powered hubs allow you to not only have an individual controller for every device that you're connecting to it, but also make sure that it has the ample or adequate power to keep that device working correctly and communicating the information that you want. This case being the video feed that you're trying to get out of a cam link.
And you also have to keep in mind too that there's also bandwidth involved on that path that you're going down, and that Thunderbolt connection only allows so much. It's like getting on a freeway. When there's nobody on the freeway, you can travel 70, 100 miles down the road. It's not a problem. In rush hour traffic, you can't go 70 miles an hour. So, and you need to have a certain speed to accomplish what you want to get done. And you're not going to be able to do it because there's too much congestion on the bandwidth. So, just because you have a powered hub and it has 7 slots on it doesn't mean that you can plug in 7 cam links into that unit, because
Mhm.
everything needs power and it also needs bandwidth.
Well, I've been using cam links for years now. Those are my video capture cards of choice. And I have ran across a couple of issues. One of them being that if you're not connecting it directly to a individual USB and connecting it through a like a dock that's not powered, right? Or a hub that's not powered. And the other issue is the cable that I'm using to connect it directly to the computer itself. Like, not all cables are created equal. So
Yep.
the cam link themselves have a particular extension cable that has all of the correct properties to transfer power and information in 4K, and it's inside the box of the cam link. A lot of people uh, like
There's so many
oversee
that
it
have been
because
thrown
it's
away.
exactly, so many people throw away that cable because they don't see it in the box and they throw away the box. But that is one of the biggest things because if that's off, then the cam link's going to give you a bunch of problems because once again, it doesn't have adequate power to perform the task that you're asking it to do. So at
Yep,
that moment, it's going to die down out of lack of power. So then you're thinking it's your hub or your computer, different things like that, when it's just something as simple as your cable.
yep.
Yep.
That's
Well,
kind of the anybody else have
that's
any
one of
any burning.
many. Well, the only question that I've seen here so far was one about my remote production startup journey, which is not particular to Ecamm. Let me see. The next one I have here says, can you address the best way to have your sound set up for an interview mode or best practice? You want to take a shot at that?
Um, are you talking from your end? Because I mean, the key thing is having in-ears so that you don't get, the sound coming back from your speakers and stuff. When you're by yourself, speakers are fine, but when you start having interview guests in, you can start getting, uh, slapback coming from the speakers because your mic is picking up. Noise cancellation will help a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily solve the problem. So that's like the key best thing. I always encourage people when they're going to do an interview, bring that person in early so that you can check for sound things, and don't just listen to how it sounds going through your monitor. If you have a Rodecaster Pro, listening to it that way. Go do a record local, record it and then listen back to it, because I have done many streams where we've sounded fine, when we were testing things, in the test check, but because we didn't go live, we didn't record it, we didn't pick up stuff. And so when we've gone live, we've heard echoes and all kinds of other stuff that we had to deal with. So I always recommend, doing a short little live, have everybody talk, um, and then just go back and listen to it and make sure everything sounds good that way. If it's sounding good that way, it's going to sound good when you go live. If I've missed anything that you are, if you wanted something more specific, let me know.
Well, I think you nailed it, Paul, because we getting the message here says, yes, from my end, I was getting slapped back. So that then my mic is cutting out. So that's basically exactly what it is. Now, I'm going to kind of piggyback on top of this. Like, I usually use a wired in-ear monitor, right? Right now, you see me here with an AirPod. It's not recommended at all. But the reason why is because of the way that AirPods naturally connect. Me personally, I misplaced my in-ear monitor. That's why I'm using this currently, but I'm using it also in the best case scenario possible, which is I actually have my AirPod connected to a third-party device, which I'm going to show you right here. And this little U-green connector is what's actually transmitting the signal to my AirPod. So my AirPod is not really connected to my computers or my phones. So if my phone were to go off or anything like that, this AirPod is not going to automatically jump to that device, which is why we don't recommend using that. And the other aspect is that it also has a microphone that gets recognized by the computers that will then end up being picked up instead of your standard microphone. But at that
Yep.
time, what I do is that I have this connected directly to it. And if you can see, there's a headphone jack on it because the only audio that it will produce to my AirPod is what I decide to plug it into. So even though it's an AirPod right now, I'm utilizing it as a wired connection because I unfortunately have misplaced my in-ear monitor. But that's why I'm trying to give that bit of information, because this is not really recommended, right? This is just working it out and doing the best with what you have according to that situation. So because I've misplaced it, I'm using this, but just know, in fact, just to give that little bit of information, that it's really not connected to any of my Apple devices. It's kind of like a standalone in-ear monitor that I'm using wirelessly, unfortunately, at this moment. But in-ear monitors, like Paul and we were talking to Dorian, is the ideal situation, because what it does is that it eliminates the possibility of having the speakers in your system listen to the audio that your guest or the interviewee or the interviewer is actually asking at that moment, and the microphone will pick it up just the same way your ears do. So while you're listening to it, your microphone is picking it up and then sending it right back to the sender, which is what causes slapback, or a lot of people call echo. So to eliminate that right off the bat, putting on some in-ear monitors to control and make sure that all the sound that you're getting from your interviewer and your computer is coming in through one channel into you and not being able to be picked up by your microphone.
Yep. And I highly recommend, if you have never been the interviewee, uh, to reach out to somebody and do that so you can see what they're going to go through. If you've got somebody on the interview that's never been on a show or never done this process before, it's even helpful if you do a private stream unlisted into your Facebook group, or your YouTube channel, whatever, and then have that person, go to that channel, because most of the time what happens when people come on this interview is they have the interview window open for the link that you sent them. Then they also open up the browser with the actual show in it, and until the show starts, you don't know that, and so what happens is the show starts up, they're talking to you over here in the interview window, and now they're also watching, and they have the sound coming through from the browser window for the live stream, and that's now coming back, and there's always a lag between it. So they start getting thrown off because the sound is off, and then they're not paying attention to the interview window and all this other stuff. So, it can get confusing. So it's good to let them experience what that's going to be like before they actually go live, and then you're trying to sort the problems out on a live stream. And I apologize, I'm melting a little bit.
Don't worry.
If I
You're
don't move, I
recording
think
on
it
your
gets
end,
better.
right? Are you recording
Uh,
on your end?
no.
Oh, you see,
I didn't do that.
that's something that I
I
should
should
have done as
have
the
done that.
producer of this show. So I take full blame on that. When we were figuring out, and like we mentioned at the beginning, that this could have been a possibility because of the networking issues in California currently, what I should have done is asked Paul to end up recording this on his end. Because are you recording now, Paul?
I am now.
Okay, so now from this point on,
Did something
right?
happen?
No, no, I was just like touching base with you, right? And for this reason, now that he's recording, he's going to get the highest quality video, and we're no longer dependent on the internet to get the highest quality signal, so to speak. So now, with that recording, I'll be able to reproduce this conversation in the highest quality because I can edit it in post production, which is one of the cool features of Ecamm. On top of that, I am currently
Yeah.
recording my conversation and Paul's actively during the live stream. Paul using it can record his information locally so that we get the highest quality in a edited version of this live stream.
Yeah, just for those of you watching, just be aware if you're new to this. If we were to take this recording and have Luis edit it and fix it and then put it back into YouTube, we will lose all the comments. All the live comments will go away and that stuff. So anytime that you can edit almost anything else associated with the live stream except the video itself. If you do anything to edit the video, chop something off the front, chop something out the back, whatever, you will lose all the live comments that have been posted into the stream, and you'll only see comments, from the replays going forward. So
Yeah,
just
like
be
the
aware of
standard
that
YouTube
if you
comments,
want to
not
do that.
the live stream comments.
Yeah. The standard YouTube comments will be there, but everything that we're saying here in chat during the stream, that all goes away and is lost.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's
in
why
one
it's
way or another,
important
it's a
too
completely
when
different video
people ask.
file.
Yeah. And it's also important too, and one of the reasons why we highly recommend that you read the comments so that in a case like that, the comments are being read and they're being shown on the screen. People know what's going on. So if you got in a situation like that, it would be okay. I'm going to try closing some stuff and see if this makes
All right.
things any better.
But that's another thing. We also mentioned this a lot. We get this a lot within the community in our Facebook and the Discord, which is a lot of people live streaming want to take the live comments and put them on their screen. We don't recommend this, and it's just because we've seen the bad side of not having control over your comments. So it might seem a bit tedious, right, for you to pick which comments you want to be demonstrated, right? So like when we have a question, right, like this one from Awesome with Things, right, I'm able to bring that onto the screen. And the reason why is because you don't control everyone out there on the internet. And when you're doing a live stream and it's a live production, unless you have someone like Mr. Moderator constantly checking on your comments and like removing anything inappropriate within the chat, Ecamm is going to pull them right away. So once Ecamm pulls them, even before a moderator is able to remove that, it's within your stream, and anything inappropriate that somebody could hypothetically put on will now be broadcast on your live stream, because you took the control aspect out of it and you just put the live stream on there, and then that could negatively affect you and your channel and what you're trying to do. And because of it, we never recommend having comments directly on the screen.
Yeah,
To each his
because
own, but that's our recommendation.
I mean, in the chat, a moderator can remove a comment, and so while it might have been briefly shown during, to the people that were on the live, it won't be there for the people that do the replay. If you have the comments on the screen, you know, showing the live comments as they come in, that is now a part of the stream. There is the only way that you can fix that is to take the stream down, and there have been very, I mean, Plattman or plaqued channels that have been removed because they had live comments and something was said in the live comments that went against the the allowed things that are being done.
The
They were
terms of
hateful stuff
service.
and all this stuff. And their channel was literally pulled and taken down. They lost their channel. So, it's you need to be very careful with that.
And the thing is
There was
that
a question.
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Uh,
No, that's the thing. You're literally taking the power and giving it to anyone. And, like some people just, unfortunately, is just the way they are. They just want to see the world burn. So,
Yeah, and
they'll just do something stupid just to do that on you and just walk away like nothing happened.
the purpose too, why a lot of these people do it is to cause an interruption. They want to confuse you, they want to throw you off track and all that stuff. So even if you have moderators in the group and something comes in, ignore the comment, because if you say, "Oh, we're getting spammed," or something like that, they've succeeded. They've been able to divert your attention from the information, the stream that you're trying to do, to something, totally different. So mission accomplished, and you might see them come back. If you ignore it, and delete it quietly or let the moderators take care of it, chances are they're going to leave you alone because they see that they can't disrupt you, and you get
Yeah.
ignored. There was
Yeah.
also a
It doesn't get
question
under your
here
skin.
asking about docks and hubs.
Yeah. That was the one that I was going to next. Go ahead.
So you can look at a hub as basically it's like if you go to a circuit panel in your home and you have all these different switches, they go out to different areas. There are different circuits going out. So, general, like if a hub has 4 slots, there's 4 separate Thunderbolt, you know, channels moving out there. On a dock, most of the time, it's the one connection coming in from the computer, and it's like an extension cord. It just gives you multiple plugs that you can plug into, but you only have that one path, that one line of bandwidth or that one lane of traffic coming in. It's not the case for all docks, but frequently that's it. So a lot of times what we do is if you need multiple docks or stuff, we say take a hub, plug that into your computer, because that's going to give you 4 separate Thunderbolt channels, and then plug the multiple docks into that hub so that you have, you know, additional pathways going out.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. Just know the difference that, yeah, the docks are not going to have the controllers for the USB lanes, and each controller for the USB lane is kind of like your own personal translator to that USB hub, right, to that connection port. And that's kind of like the biggest difference when you have someone dedicated to make sure that your information is being conveyed to the computer, comparative to a dock where you're sharing everything. It's kind of like a community pool.
Yep.
All right. The next question we have here is Education on Fire. What is the best way to get the name of viewers to come through on Facebook? I'm trying to reduce as many Facebook users as possible. Now,
Oh,
Unfortunately, this is not a problem with Ecamm, right? It actually has to do with Facebook and the actual user, not even you who's producing the show on Facebook, but the actual user who's trying to comment on your stream in Facebook. They would have to go through a couple of steps of giving Facebook permissions to allow their information to be displayed so that when they leave a comment, that information is also tied to it, to who sent it and their photo. Besides
yeah,
that, besides you educating, your user base on Facebook, it's pretty much out of your control.
yeah, and the other thing too is you have to either be the channel owner or an admin of the channel for this to work. But in the interview or when you start up or post a stream to Facebook, it has a link in there that people can click. Basically, that's the same thing as if you type in ecamm.com/join, or I'm sorry, ecamm.com/connect. It's the same thing. Basically, what that's doing is triggering a signal to Facebook to that you're giving permission for Facebook to pass your name and information into um, their channel. But again, you'll see it live in the comments. You'll see the names. It's just not getting passed into the comments and reaction window in Ecamm. And so they have to go through that approval process, and it lasts a few months. So every couple of months, I recommend people just go in and do it, because once they do it for one, it does it for all any Ecamm stream. But yeah, a lot of people will be streaming in somebody else's channel and they're saying, "But I'm not seeing the names. I'm not seeing the names." And it's because you have to be either an owner or an admin of the channel in order to be able to see the names in Ecamm.
Yep. All right. So the next question that we have here, let me make sure that I get to it.
So it is
Uh,
it is dock into hub, not hub into dock. Dock into hub. I kind of think of a dock as an extension cord and a hub as a circuit panel.
mhm. That's a good way of putting it. Haven't heard that one before. All right. Do you have any recommendations for eliminating the spinning beach ball affecting your performance while using Ecamm?
Yes. First
I'm
thing I
just
would say
gonna.
is you're
I'm gonna
probably using
go ahead.
an older Mac.
I was just gonna say that. I was like, I haven't seen a beach ball in like 2 years since I got my Mac Studio. Oh, I digress. The one time I saw it was I was having an issue with um Final Cut Pro, but that was particular to the program. And once I fixed the program, I never had the issue again. But like, I would have to concur with what you just said. If you are on an older Mac machine, right? We've all been there. Just know that a lot of the features that are coming out for Ecamm currently, so the new version that was just released was 4.1.7, and the more things that are being added to the program, the more it's pushing itself away from older Intel Mac computers. So most of these features are based on an Apple Silicon type of computer and moving forward from there because it has the resources to provide these new features. But the older
Yep.
Intel Mac computers and older hardware really do struggle. So we were talking about this just before we went live, and when I was using an Intel Mac computer, what I did for my live streams that helped me out, which is one of the cool features of Ecamm, is that it has internal recording. So right now, like I had mentioned before, that you are now recording internally to your computer and that I have an internal recording of this live stream. It is an added feature and it is something that you can turn off. So when I was on my Intel Mac computers, I disabled the feature of recording internally because I knew that I was broadcasting to YouTube and that's where my recording was going to live. So it removed a lot of the workload that I was asking my computer to do, to not only make a clear image, get good audio, and produce it and pump it out into YouTube as a live stream. But the aspect of asking that older machine to record that internally into my hard drive as well was really asking a little bit too much of it. So turning that feature off, knowing that my backup recording was going to be what I was producing to YouTube. And if I wanted to repurpose that type of content, I would download the files from YouTube. It allowed my older machine to work better with the resources that it had, because I took one of the main, like powerful or power hungry features of it, that's the internal recording, and just turned that off while I was using the older type of machines.
Yep. There seems to
So
be
that
a
could definitely help out.
there seems to be a disagreement in chat amongst the hub and the dock concept.
Oh yeah?
There
Okay,
is
well we'll get to it.
there
Go
and
ahead.
the net I saw something too about the networking issues in California. It seems just to be my area. It's something going on with Xfinity. They decided to break something locally, and
Well, that's so the
so
thing. Look, when we say live happens, we're not only talking about our live streams. We're talking about life in general. So
yep,
there was an example that I can give, which was I was producing the Flow podcast. And as I'm sitting here just monitoring everything, my internet went down. And that meant broadcast just went out. So as soon as the
yep,
broadcast went out, I have people calling in from, I have Doc Rock calling in from Hawaii, Katie from Massachusetts, and I'm here in Miami. And now I'm not pumping anything out into YouTube. And when they called back, we were trying to get the communication and we tried to restart that live stream, and it was just dead. And come to find out that it wasn't that, like AT&T was doing an update. It wasn't that anything was out of the ordinary. It was that my neighbor decided to do something in the backyard and literally cut my cable line to the internet. And the reason why I bring that up is because that was my localized type of situation. But there could be a car accident that hits a phone pole that was actually carrying your data, and now your section of city is completely out for the time being. And that could be something that Paul is dealing with, right? And these are the things that, even though we do our best, are completely out of our control.
yeah. And I mean, it's like I remember a couple of years ago, a year ago, something like that, when they were having all the hurricanes and stuff going up the East Coast. And it's like everybody's network connection on their end appeared to be fine. The problem was that all the data centers that the network traffic passes through were were being shut down. They were having problems and they were having to reroute traffic, and they had just a massive amount of traffic trying to get through and all this stuff with the rerouting, and it was overflowing other places, which then had to be rerouted, and it was impacting the overall performance of the internet. And so, there's stuff that, there's a lot of places between where I am and Luisa's in Miami to get the signal and then turn around and get it out to all of you. So there's lots of hops and jumps along the way, so any of those could be going wrong. It may not look like there's a problem on my end. I have 1 gig, internet service when it works that, should be fine for everything, but you never know what's happening, in all those little places in between.
Yep. Now, I just wanted to touch back on Dorian because I saw a comment that he had here, which he was saying that he was just still wondering why, even though he's wearing an in-ear monitor, that it was like his microphone was being cut off on the other person's end. Well, I'm not sure exactly the setup that was being used, but if you have an in-ear monitor and you're doing everything preventative maintenance on your side and you are the interviewee, right? You're calling into somebody else and your microphone is being cut off, it most likely has something to do with their end and the way that they have their setup. Because if they're using a noise gate or something of that format to clear up the audio that they're coming in from their guest. Well, that could be the noise gate, could be what's cutting out the beginning or ending of your voice, right?
Yep.
I'm currently using the Rodecaster Pro 2, and I also use a program called Crisp. Paul uses it as well, to kind of clear up the ambient noise within my environment so that it only picks up my microphone channels. But previous to this, I was using the DBX 286S, and that's a all-in-one channel strip that would do a lot of those same types features, and one of them was the noise gate. And a lot of people, Doc Rock also recommends this unit. For my personal scenario, I didn't like it because I felt like for my use case scenario, it was cutting off just like the beginning and the ends of my words on the microphones and only getting the middle parts. And for that reason was why I decided to move elsewhere from that unit. But like I said, depending on exactly what systems are being used for your microphone or being put in place, could be the reason why your microphone is being cut off. Yeah, I don't think I even found the comment, but we're gonna go with it because I know that's yeah, here it is. Thanks for the info in your monitors. All right, cool. All right, let me see if we have any other questions here. Okay, we have one which I don't understand. Maybe you could answer, Paul. What is the secret code from
Oh,
Tech
uh,
Troublemaker?
there's a secret code that is for the Christmas drawing that is coming up in the near future, the big giveaway. And that secret code will be given out in a live. I can't remember the live stream that it's on, but it will be given out towards the end of that particular live stream that is mentioned. So it's not going to be given out in any other place but that one stream. So
Okay, good.
you're just going to have to watch.
That just made me feel better because I'm like, I didn't know something that I think I was supposed to know. All right. So I'm just going through the comments here. It says a CalDigit is 2 times the price of what? The CalDigit dock is 2 times the price of the CalDigit hub. The dock has way more power, and actually creates more lanes. The hub is simply powered.
Yeah, some, as I said, some docks do create the additional lanes, which is what a hub does also. A hub will create multiple lanes of a Thunderbolt. Some docks do that, and some docks don't. So it
Hmm.
kind of, if you've listened to Doc talk about hubs and that, he usually will say, "Eh, plug docks into hubs." I mean, you can plug a dock directly into the computer and stuff, but if you're trying to do lots of stuff, he always recommends plugging a dock into a hub because not all docks are created equal. So, but
Okay.
yeah, it can work both ways. I mean, there are
But
situations,
at the
there are
same
docks where
time,
it.
test, right?
Yep,
Test, test,
yep.
test. One
I
of
mean,
my
there
favorite
is there
features.
is
Go ahead.
there is um an application within the Mac that will show you kind of, the system, and I can't remember the name of it. My mind is blanking, but it basically shows all your system resources, and you can go in and look at your USB hubs, and you can kind of see directly in there whether there's separate USB channels and how all that's working and coming together. It's more than to go into here, but there are resources on the Mac where you can actually dig in and see all that type of stuff if you want to go down that rabbit hole. I
Absolutely.
think it's the system.
But the only thing that I know is that the terminology could be a bit confusing, right? Because usually docks, right? Like a boat dock, right, is like the harbor where it just sits there and is going to take everything in, which is where I think the mental aspect goes into play. But um, traditionally, from our experiences, like the hubs, the powered hubs or dock, however you want it to be called, is usually the ones that have the controllers. And once like Paul just said, if you're able to look at your utility manager there and see exactly which ones are providing additional lanes and which ones are just spreading them out, is going to let you know a lot of your system and what you can or can't do. And the reason why we mentioned this is going back to one of the first things that we were talking about, which was connecting the cam links, right? The cam links and a lot of different devices like the Stream Deck, right? This little guy right here. They ask you to plug it in directly to the computer that you're going to use it, because they're trying to eliminate any issues that you could potentially have with either a dock or a hub, right? They want to make sure that the computer is getting the best signal from the device so that it can work at its peak performance. But at the same time, you can check it out, because even though I personally have my cam links directly connected to my computer to avoid any hubs, I do have a dock underneath, right? A non-powered dock, so to speak, underneath my computer that I use for a variety of different things to get extra, like my Stream Deck. And because I know that this isn't like the main like device for me, you understand, like if this loses connection, it's not going to be dire on my live stream, because if for any reason my Stream Deck were to act a little weird, at that moment it will actually be able to unplug it, reconnect itself, and get my desired outcome without like losing or damaging like my video signal or anything like that, comparative to my like my cam links.
Yep. I mean, if anybody wants to go down that crazy rabbit hole, if you go into system settings, you go into general, and down at the very bottom, you see system report. That's going to open up a window. And one of the things in there is going to be Thunderbolt USB 4 and USB. So by clicking on that, you can actually see how the ports are set up and what's connecting into and feeding off of everything else. So if you want to go crazy, that's a place that you can go see it.
That's great. Okay, we got another question that snuck in here. Victoria Sharp Music. I use camera, I guess, with my iPhone 12 Pro alongside with the ZV-1. Sometimes my camo cam is out of sync, but the ZV-1 is fine. Any ideas on what to do? Thanks. Well, I'm guessing the audio is what she's talking about. But unfortunately, when it comes to the audio synchronization, each camera is going to have its own latency in particular. So I know from just experience that Canon cameras have a bit longer latency than Sony cameras, right? So you will have to like make sure that your microphone sync is set up that way according to, in this case, your main camera. So unless you're using all of the same types of cameras or the same brands that are giving you the same type of latency as far as the signal goes from video to audio, using a variety of different ones is going to kind of be almost impossible to synchronize both, because they're giving different outputs to your computer and you're going to have to choose which one is most important to you.
Yeah, the other thing too with camo is, um, if you've got the camera directly plugged in to your Mac and you're not relying on, like a wireless connection, because that can add delay into it
Mm.
too. And then again, if you are plugged in, you might want to even look at the cable, because as we've said, not all cables are, just because it's uh, in that case, a lightning
A lightning
cable,
cable.
it there may be some issues with that lightning cable. It may not have all the connections that are needed to to get things to flow through fast enough. So you might
That's
try
very true.
looking at a different cable if you are wired. But if you're not wired, I highly recommend, plugging a cable in and making it directly connected to your computer.
Yeah, that could make all the difference in the world. Going back to saying the first thing we mentioned was the cam link, and mentioning that the cable that comes with it is very important. A lot of the times that we're talking here, we always go like the first step that you should check is the cable, because the cable doesn't also necessarily need to be bad. Sometimes in my own experiences, cables that have just been in their adapter for so long just kind of like lose the connectivity, whether it's a little bit of oxidation or corrosion that is building up on the actual connections themselves. So let me disconnect this.
Yeah, and
uh
Doc has talked about this little device. I mean, you can plug cables into it, and it basically will tell you all the connections that are in there, and you can tell if a cable is bad or if the cable is as good as it's supposed to be. Because
mhm.
there's a chart that helps you decode all the little lights that are on this thing, but you can see if it's fast enough to do what you want to be doing, and sometimes they're
Well,
just bad.
I was just going to show this. Like, this is a simple USB connection, right? And I have a hard drive connected to it. A lot of times I would be like, where did my hard drive go? Or like, it's not being connected. And it's just because it's been reliable for so long that I haven't had to touch it. And the only thing that I needed to do was literally disconnect and reconnect the cables, right? And it kind of
Yep.
like refreshes the connections that were being lost. And then the next thing you know, boom, everything's working back up again. So whether it's checking the cables, it doesn't always mean to replace them. It means to check them. Sometimes just disconnecting, you understand, making sure that things are clean and connected correctly is all that you need, especially if you already know that you've done your due diligence to make sure that you got the appropriate cables in the first place.
Yep. I think we've made it through all the
Okay.
questions. Yeah,
I
and the
think
secret
we
word
have.
next Wednesday, Doc is doing an Ozbot Tiny 2 video or stream talking about how it works, how to set it up, how to use it with Ecamm. That is the stream that is gonna have the secret word. It will be at the towards the end, someplace, probably towards the end of that stream, but that will be the only place that the secret word will be, uh, given for the big giveaway so that you can get the extra entries.
Nice. Well, Mark is giving us a bit of information here as well. It says OWC has a great documentation on that
Yep.
charts on the docs and hubs on their website. So that's also good for a little bit of information. Okay.
Yeah.
And Victoria snuck in a last question here, says, yes, audio. Can I put the original audio source in the Camo Studio rather than Ecamm and then send it to Ecamm? At the
That's
I mute.
probably going yeah,
Well, yeah, you
at the moment,
can. Like,
but you're adding any time that you add another piece in the puzzle, you're adding additional delay. So while you can do that, there's a good chance that you're gonna make it might possibly make things even worse because that's another point that has to process the signal before it passes to something else that's gonna process the signal. So, I mean, the best thing you can do is try it, see what happens.
exactly.
But
That's what I was gonna say. Try it.
but
Well, the
they
reason why is because there's some people who don't have a completely dedicated, like audio setup, right? So they don't have an audio interface.
And they might have a cam link and they're connecting their higher end camera to the cam link. I have some friends who I know who actually do this, and because they're using that as their setup, they prefer to connect an external microphone, right? Like something that they would use for vlogging, right? Like one of those Rode Pro mics on top of their cameras, and connect that directly to their camera so that that's getting the
okay,
better
Mr.
audio
Robot.
quality.
Mr. Robot.
Do I sound like a robot? I do. Oh my.
Goodness. Life happens, right? That's
I thought
because
you were,
I
like,
got one of
demoing
these
something at
things.
first.
That's because I got one of these things, right? Protecting, and this is actually what hit the button because I just kind of flipped it over. But anyway, what I was trying to illustrate was there's some people who don't have an audio interface, and for that reason, they would connect an external microphone directly to their camera because CamLink is picking up the audio from the camera. So they will use that audio that's being synchronized already through the camera and then just have that feeding out to their live streams. So that's the one thing that I would agree with Paul, which is try that out because you could get a better synchronization, seeming that the audio that you're getting from the camera is going to be synced up to what you're pulling from it with Camo. And that
Yeah.
might help you out. But at the same time, if you have another microphone, right? And then you have two, you could then be causing like a type of echoing when you're getting the same signal from two different microphones, but coming at you at different speeds or latencies, right? And then that's what could eventually happen is that if you are dealing with two cameras and you were to put the microphone on that Camo camera, then the latency that you were experiencing with the Camo camera, you might now experience on your main camera, right? In reverse, so to speak. Either the audio is too forward or too back because the synchronization timings are not set according to each camera. So test it out as always. And if you can, let us know because that's very interesting, but it has to do with the synchronization of the camera and the video itself for each individual camera.
I was laughing when that was happening because
Everybody's
Val
cracking
made a
up over
comment.
here.
He said it took me so long to say, and I was like, it started, and I thought, okay, is he like showing? I was like sitting here, okay, how is he tying that robot voice into delay? And it's like, is he trying to show that there's a processing delay or something like this? And then I
The
finally
robot.
realized, I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows he's in.
No, live happens. This is famous for me, right? I had a live stream where my roadcaster did something like that all on its own, right? And I was gone on a soliloquy for 15 minutes just talking about a camera, and everybody in
The
chat was
voice.
cracking up. So something similar like that happens. But that goes to show you here, look, anything could happen, and I think that's the awesomeness of live streaming, right? The fact that you're getting the people who you want to get information from raw, uncut, real, and you get to see exactly how they are, exactly how they would react in their environment.
Yep.
But I
And
think we did
everybody
it, man.
laughed.
Yeah. Robot neighbor. That's a video like that says that was epic. Hey, that was fun, and thank you for that. Because as soon as you said like the robot thing, I was like, "What?" And like the same way that you were thinking, you're like, "Is he gonna tie this into something?" I'm like, "What are you?" And I see that thing glowing. I'm like, "Oh no!" That goes to show you lessons learned. Before was like, "Hey, don't do this." Now I know that I gotta actually remove my cover completely, because what I did in full transparency is that instead of removing it, I kind of just threw it on top, right, and just gave me access to the knobs and the sliders that I wanted to deal with. Like, so while you were talking, I'm coughing and I would just mute myself. And to do that, I just left it there, and the case itself hit that robot button. So, well, fun
Yep.
times.
Yes.
But that is it. We want to thank everyone for taking the time and hanging out here with us on the Friday Live demo. We hope that we were able to provide some information about how this amazing program works, a little bit, behind the scenes on the insides, and to help you out with things that you might be dealing with this program. So we hope that we brought value to you. Paul, anything you would like to say as your final remark?
Nope. Doc will be back next week. We're doing a holiday party on the next Friday. So there won't be a live demo next week. We're going to do the holiday party in Discord. So that will be going on. And like I said, the huge giveaway, they're giving the Ozbot Tiny 2 and a bunch of other stuff. And you can it's in the featured section on the YouTube channel. You can join that then, and then you're going to get, when you find out what the secret word is on next Wednesday, you'll be able to get more entries into that. But that will be given away during the holiday party, if I remember correctly. So, there's some fun stuff coming up.
Yeah, and I'm excited. It's almost like this month has already gone by. It's like I can't believe that December is gone and we're already at 2024. And here's a pro tip that I will give to every single one of you. Start now writing the date 2024 So by the time we actually get there, your hand's already used to it, because it usually takes me the first month of January of writing 2023 on all the dates before it kicks in. So start early and might get there on time.
Yep.
All right, Paul.
Like,
Thank you as always for hanging out. Oh, you going to say
Thank you.
something?
No, I said it's not like the old days when we used to have to write checks, and if you wrote the wrong date on it, it would mess things up. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
No, and yeah, and pretty much every document is electronic, so you'd be able to,
Yep.
change it out afterwards. So, everyone, thank you as always for hanging out here with us every Friday as we go live and learn about this amazing program. Take care of yourselves and each other. I can't wait to see you here next week as Doc Rock will be doing this all over again. Paul, thank you as always for hanging out.
Actually, he won't. He won't be. Yeah, he won't be here next week. No demo
Oh,
next week.
no demo.
2
Oh, so
weeks.
we're just skipping the demo. We're going to. Oh, that's right. That's right. We're doing the party. You
Holiday
just
party.
mentioned it.
Holiday. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So
Well, we'll
the live
see
demo will be
who
back
we
in 2
do
weeks.
see in Discord next week,
Yep.
and that's gonna be fun as well. Cameras on, just so everyone knows. So we're all having fun. All right. That's it. We'll see you
Take
next
care,
week,
everybody.
or in a
Bye.
couple. Bye.
Yeah.
Come straight out of Ecamm. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam. This is a jam of the Ecamm fam.